Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 8 of Meet the PhDs. And today we have Vinni with us. Hi, Vinni. Thanks for joining.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so she's joining us from USA, and she's at the moment she's doing her PhD at the Department of Bioproducts and Biosystem Engineering at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. So thanks for joining us, Winnie, again. And I will be actually asking you a couple of questions, and hope this helps the prospective PhD students and also the first year PhD students. So shall we begin with the interview?
Yes,
All
sure.
right. So, could you just tell us more about the field and the department that you're pursuing your PhD in, and also what sort of research questions you're trying to answer through your PhD?
As Shelley already mentioned, my department is Bioproducts and Biosystems Engineering. It's generally called Biosystems Engineering by most universities. So this is like a broad field, and it's mostly related to agriculture engineering. So it involves making sure crops grow well, the technology that is used to grow crops and all that. And there are also sensing systems being developed, like use sensors for maybe like water level, finding like the right temperature for crop growth and things like that. But apart from that, there are also like topics like making biofuels and like renewable energy, things like that. And other thing would be like nanotechnology, using nanotechnology for sensing. And that's not just for like crops, but also if you have like any microorganism or pathogens that you need to detect. So that those sort of problems are also being solved using biosystems engineering. So it's a very, very broad field, just like how so my undergrad was in biotechnology, and that is like a broad field. I'm sure Shelley would know that.
Yeah.
So it's a very
So,
broad field, and biosystems engineering is similar to that, but like not as broad, but it also like mostly is like covers a lot of different topics. So specifically my research topic is on nano biodiagnostics. So I'm trying to develop nanoparticles here, mostly magnetic nanoparticles like iron oxide and gold nanoparticles for detecting pathogens. So that includes microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, and viruses also, like that infects plants, and not just plants. In some cases, even food, like it contaminates food. So it's also in detecting. It's also like basically detection of food pathogens or food microorganisms. So that's my topic. And yeah, so it's mostly like nanotechnology combined with microbiology. That's the
wow, that's a
that's
different and a very interesting combination, right?
Yes, it is a very interesting combination because you also have to like think like a chemist sometimes because you have to make those particles, and you also have to be like a biologist, a microbiologist. You need to make sure you know how to grow these microorganisms and what level and how like handle those conditions and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's a fun topic.
Nice. And since you mentioned about the biotechnology part of it, I want to tell the viewers that how we know each other. So we've actually done our bachelor's studies together from SRM University, Chennai, and we were in the same class. It was,
Yeah.
in fact, like we used to sit very close to each other, right? Like
Yeah.
we were the first benchers,
First
actually.
benchers. Yeah. That's true.
Well, that's why we are doing PhD, right?
Right.
So.
No wonder.
Yeah, no wonder. Yeah, yeah. The backbenchers have definitely better things to do in life. So,
I'm sure. Yes, they do.
yeah. So that's very interesting because I mean I wasn't aware of such a different way of combining these two subdomains of biotechnology, and we have studied both microbiology and nanotechnology during
Yes.
our course. So it's interesting that you're now applying that,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's like it's so interesting because India has so much of like contribution to farming. I mean, our economy is dependent on that. So it's interesting that you're introducing new techniques to improve all that, and also the part with I mean food production. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So why did you choose this field? I'm definitely looking forward to your answer for this. And what was the moment like when you decided to pursue your PhD in this field?
So it's kind of a long story, but I can like make it short. So it started with how I got into the field of nanotechnology. It started in undergrad itself. So in my second year, I think right after second year, we all had to go for internships.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Like a mini project, remember?
yeah. Yes. So, so during the internship, like that's when I first made nanoparticles on my own. So this was with another classmate of mine, Christy. So
Yes, I know.
Christy and I, so we had this project which was making silver nanoparticles for actually killing microorganisms. This was not detection; it was mostly like an antimicrobial technique to kill microorganisms. So we did that small. It was a small project, but that's the first time I actually like got introduced to this nanotechnology and stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually for like the final year projects and the mini project in our undergrad, I was working with Dr. Vinod Kumar. He is he actually introduced more of those principles of how you make nanoparticles and what are the like the optimization techniques that we need to do and all that. So that my final year project was on making biofuels using, or at least precursors for biofuels using magnetic nanoparticles. So that kind of sparked my interest in this whole nanotechnology field. And that's how I wanted to pursue something that would involve nanoparticles and like me making nanoparticles and things like that, apply it in different, like use it in different applications. So initially, my thought was to obviously like go in the direction of making renewable energy using these nanoparticles, because that was my project. So I applied. And then I at that point I was thinking like mostly chemical engineering would fit my background, because most of these things they do in chemical engineering. But then again, that is also an entirely different field compared to biotechnology and what kind of background I had. So then that didn't work. So then I later found out what biosystems engineering was. And not many universities offer biosystems engineering here. So it's like some universities, relatively fewer universities actually offer this program. And I found out this is more of my fit, because I don't want to just focus on nanoparticles. I also wanted to apply it something to related to biology. And microbiology is the most common thing, but like they've never combined that. It is not very common to see a nanobiotechnologist or a nanobiodiagnostics happening anywhere. So I wanted to like apply this nanoparticle thing, but then using also somehow combining biology. So then I applied to biosystems engineering, and that's when I got introduced to this whole field of nanodiagnostics. Yeah, so it was a great journey. Like that's how I found this very interesting, and now I'm working on it. It's fulfilling.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know because that's what is rewarding, during our PhD, if the work that we are doing is fulfilling. Yeah. So maybe you would want to answer the sub part of this question is what was the moment like when you decided to pursue your PhD in this field? Is it like, do you have a different answer to this or it continues or, yeah.
So it's basically the same answer. So that's how I started with applying to chemical engineering courses, like I said before, but that didn't work. So when I found out about biosystems engineering, I was like, wow, okay, I should have found this like the first time when I was looking, because it's exactly fitting my interests. And when I applied and got into this program, I was like, okay, this is like amazing, because this is exactly what I want to do. It started that way. But again, like more on that. So when I started, mine was a direct PhD admission. But eventually, like the program turned into a different direction. The research topic also changed. So it had to be, it was mostly like I was not even working on nanoparticles anymore. It was mostly developing packaging system, like a antimicrobial packaging film for killing microorganisms in food. So that was fine. It was a good topic, but again, I was like lacking that nanoparticle skills there. Like I wasn't able to apply it, or I wasn't able to learn more on that, which is what I was looking for. So then, that there were some obstacles and struggles, but for the most part, right now I'm like, okay. So the second time I got into a project like this, I'm like, okay, now I'm good, because I'm getting to do what I want, and that's an amazing feeling.
And you actually shared a very important point here, is that it's important to understand for ourselves what we like. I mean, in fact, even in the other interviews that I did with other people, what I also understood through their answers is that many of them really emphasize on the fact that it's important to know what you like, and then also have the courage to pursue what you like. So if you remember Sanjay, our friend from even our classmate, I interviewed him as well, and he had like the same point here. So it's also interesting to see how our topics are different, our field of interests are different, but the same there is also a commonality between all the PhD students, is that like the constant drive, the constant motivation that we all need to have, irrespective of what our field of study is, irrespective of which country we are located in. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of differences, but still there are a lot of commonalities.
Yes,
So,
yes. It's important to, yeah, exactly. It is very important to know what you want to do and also pursue it. Otherwise, the PhD program is not going to be fulfilling, because then you just be like, oh, I'm just like here, just doing something because I have to do this, but you'll
yes, and
not
it's for a
be able
long time. So we can't like, just keep saying ourselves that, we have to,
exactly.
because there'll be a breaking point
At
once.
some point, yes, at some point you will not be able to complete it. You will just be like, why not just get a job? So it's
Yeah.
only the drive to get what you want. That's the one that's pushing you to that last point where you get the degree in hand.
Yeah, and I think by that time it's not even about the degree. I mean,
Yeah,
right? I mean, because
yeah,
then you're like a complete different person because
yeah,
your PhD has like transformed you. So, yeah,
exactly. Right, so
yeah, to
like
cover that.
this, it's definitely a learning experience. It's like you
Mhm.
learn a lot of life skills
Yeah,
through your
true.
PhD.
All
Right.
right. So I actually you answered the next question, which was what sparked your interest in research, sort of. However, I want to emphasize here again that if you have another answer to this, you can definitely add on more to that. So,
Okay, so what sparked my interest is, like I said, I was used to this. So when I got to know about nanotechnology, that is what set me like, okay, so I have to do research. Till then, I was like, okay, maybe after I'm done with my undergrad, I'll try to get a desk job or something, and like not. I wasn't even thinking about research at that point, and only when I learned some. Through the projects that we did in undergrad, I was like, okay, so this is how it works, and I learned how research works, and that was not, even then I hadn't learned enough. So uh, like I said, the first time I tried to apply and go for higher studies, it didn't work for me. I was looking at the wrong direction. I was going into chemical engineering and all that, but that didn't work for me. So I didn't exactly have a plan for that year, like what do I do? And then I got this opportunity at IIT Madras, where I joined as a research intern in one of the chemical engineering labs, because I was still thinking maybe I would be doing chemical engineering in future. And then that's how, so I joined this lab again. And then there, even though the topic was very different from what I was interested in, or I was still interested in how they do all those things, but it was not exactly nanotechnology or anything. It was nothing related to biofuels. It was more like, it was an extraction, so it was an aqueous two-phase extraction system and things like that. It's more like a chemical engineering topic. But I, working with those graduate students there, that kind of showed me how research would work in an like actual research work. Like
Yeah.
till then I had like undergrad experience. Yes, we did projects, we did like, we got some results and all that, we did some presentations, but that was like an undergrad level. Like you weren't expected to a higher extent, like what you like what is the application of this, like in a long term thing. So when I did this internship, that taught me what research was and what are the expectations, or how do you carry about a research on your own. Like till then you'll have like guidance. Even here, even in this case, even in masters or PhD, there is some guidance, but it's mostly on you to get through the project and everything, right? So that I learned there, and that's another reason. So even though I had like an interest on this topic, this was what that like motivated me even more to like definitely pursue a higher studies next year. So then I applied again, and by then I also came to know about biosystems engineering. So then I was like, okay, now I have my topic. I also know I want to do this, so why not
That's
go?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
because sometimes we might like the topic, but maybe we don't like the aspect of research because
yeah.
research, during research, we have to deal a lot with failures. So we might love the topic, but maybe not research. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is what led me to research more, actually. Like 90%, I should say, like maybe not 90, but 80% was this experience of doing research with other graduates that led to this. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and this is another very common point that we tend to discuss, and I often even discussed it quite a bit of times with other PhD students, and now also during the interviews, is that the exposure matters a lot. So the more we are exposed to different scientists, the more we are exposed to different labs, the more we are exposed to different concepts, we would definitely, it'll expand our thinking, it'll expand our perspectives about how to look at things. So many times we just look at things through one filter, but when we get exposed to different perspectives, we also try to see things from their eyes, and that really influences the way we look at things. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And would you just tell us about your career trajectory until now? That'll be interesting to know.
Okay. So, as you all know already, I mentioned that my undergrad was in biotechnology. So, right after that, I wanted to pursue my master's or PhD. At that point, I was like still thinking, should it be master's or should I just directly apply to PhD? So I applied,
Yeah.
and but again, as I mentioned, I did that for chemical engineering, and that did not go well for me. Like I did not get any admissions that year, and I was mostly looking at US universities, because at that point, for some reason, my dad was like, only US universities, because then you're like after that it should be easier for you to get a job and things. But I don't know, I still feel like it's not so easy. But anyway, so then I only applied to some of the universities here, and it was mostly for chemicals, so that didn't work. I had also at that point joined this like I had also applied for, this was like a backup option, was like an option B. So if I did not get any admission, I needed something to like fall back on. So that that led me to sit for placements in in university that was offered in SRM University itself, like right after our BTech. The thing was to like sit for placements and get some like job.
Yes, we started sitting for placements. I remember somewhere in the beginning of fourth year or in the end of third year, was it? I mean, I didn't sit, so I have no
Yeah.
clue. But I remember all of most of the classmates sitting for placements. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was in the beginning of fourth year, like you mentioned. It was sometime in October. So usually the semester starts in August, and it was sometime in October when people started like sitting for placements, and I was also sitting for placements. I got into 3 companies, but all of it, we never got any biotech related company.
That's what usually happens, right? So,
Yes, that is expected. So all of it or most of it were IT related companies. So I got placed in TCS, Wipro, and Infosys, I think. Yeah. So I accepted the offer in TCS because obviously that year I did not have anything else to do. I did not get any admissions. So then I accepted that offer. And yeah, so for the first, like maybe after the TCS training program started, I was there. That was in Trivandrum. So that's a yeah, so that was in Trivandrum, yes. And I was just going for the training, like I was half-heartedly going for it. I didn't even want to do anything with like IT. Come on, like I did
I
biotechnology.
think you chose biotech, so that actually defines that you don't want to do anything with
Right,
IT. Yeah.
exactly. So, and even for placements, I was the only one who was like, okay, I should sit for placements, but I also want to go for higher studies. Like my mind is set on higher studies in biotech field or like, field something like that. But I was the only one who was like, okay, I need a backup option, and I sat for placements. Or most of the people who sat for placements only wanted to like get placed, and most of the people who didn't sit for placements were only going for higher studies. And I was
Like,
like,
yeah.
so I was feeling so bad, but then I also didn't have any option. So I was like, okay, fine. And then I went to TCS. I started my training. But for like 3 weeks into the thing, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I just cannot do this. So I like quit my job and then I came back home. And I still didn't have a plan. Like I was like, okay, I'll just do something after coming back home, but I'm not doing this job. So my parents were very supportive. I'm so thankful to them at that point, like for being that supportive. They were like, okay, fine. If you're not liking it, just come back. We'll see. We'll decide what to do.
That's very important. It's very important to have a support system, and especially if it is your parents, then it just makes everything so easy. Yeah.
Yeah. That was yeah, I'm so thankful that they were like understanding and all, because usually I don't think every parent would be like, okay, just leave the job and come back or something,
Yeah.
like once you get the job.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So yeah, so then I came back home. After that, I started applying for internships, and finally, like after like a month or so, I got this internship at IIT. That was in chemical engineering department, and that internship was for a year. So then I completed that whole year. I applied again for my program here, and this time I got to know about biosystems engineering. Thank God. So through my dad's friends and all who were here, like they told me about this program. So this might fit more with my interests. And then I applied again, and then my program was PhD. So that was again in biosystems engineering in Michigan State University. So I came to Michigan State and I started my PhD program there. So this was again on, like it was supposed to be on the topic of nano sensors, nanobiosensors, like detecting pathogens and all, but it ended up being a different topic.
Okay.
Did not have anything to do with nanoparticles or nano technology. So the topic was good. It was interesting. It was mostly like developing packaging systems. It was antimicrobial food packaging system. and that one for like against food contamination and all, but it did not have anything to do with nanotechnology. And my heart was still like, okay, I still want to learn something in this field.
Mhm.
I'm like not doing anything related to that. Also, that was the first project in the lab, which was very different from nanotechnology, because the lab itself is named as Nano Biosensors Lab. But then, like this project alone, which I am doing, is very different. So we got funding from a different, an organization who wanted us to work on this. So I started working on this, and eventually, like I completed the project. But then again, the funding was also running low. It was just for like 2 years or something. I was apparently it started a year before I joined. So then the funding started getting over, and I didn't have anything further. Like my professor, then she then advised that okay, maybe I should just finish with my masters and then maybe move somewhere else for PhD. And I also felt okay, maybe that's better because this topic is not something related to what I want also.
Mhm.
So I'm not learning much on what I wanted to learn on. So then I changed my program to masters, then finished my masters there. It was a gamble because I didn't know what if I did not get an admission again, like somewhere else, right?
True. Yeah, yeah. It's such an uncertain situation.
Right. Yeah. So I was kind of freaking out during that period, but I was also like, no, but I'm already here, so it can't be that bad. And then like I just changed my program and applied again. I got into another PhD program. So that is now the one that I'm here now. So this is my first year. I'm almost done with my first year. So this is in University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. So I had to move states, but it was worth it. I'm now working on the topic that I wanted to work on. And in between moving these two, like in between moving from one university to the other, I also had the opportunity to work or be an intern at the National Institute of Health here.
Wow,
Yeah.
that
So
is so prestigious. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. So towards the end of my master's program, I had applied for this scholar program. It's called Demo Scholar Program. This is through my previous university, Michigan State. So that program is more like it's about natural science and policy program. And so most of the students who get placed or who get selected in this program, they get placed in like government agencies or like other private agencies or non-profit agencies, which like has a focus on policy and science at the same time. So because of my background, I got placed in the National Institute of Health, and I was specifically working as a special volunteer in the NIAID division. So that's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So
Mhm.
that was a great opportunity because when you come to think of it, like the current situation itself is being handled by this division.
True.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel very honored that I was able to do that. So that was a 3 month program, and I had done my internship there. And then, like soon after my internship, I finished my master's defense, and then I came
Mhm.
here. So this is my first year almost. I'm done, and this is
Mhm.
my trajectory.
A very interesting trajectory. Like I had no clue of this. Like I mean, I have known you since a long time, but obviously, I mean, we had different groups with which we shared our time with. So although we knew each other, but then it was always in the back of our minds. But then we never got to like talk so much in detail. So it's interesting that at this platform we get to know about each other so much.
I,
And yeah. But yeah, it's very interesting and yeah, very proud of you that you got to work at NIH and in that particular division. Like, yeah, working in NIH is anybody's dream. I mean, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It was an amazing experience. Like everyone were like all the people there were very supportive. They knew I was also like on the side working on my master's thesis. So they were
Yeah.
really like, okay, don't worry about it. You can work and you can also like do this if you need time, you can just tell us anytime and all that. It was a very good experience. I had a